Alright guys, so I've been having a few issues with the other laminar box that I had made with the air purifier attached to it. So I made a different one. As you can see, we've got a very large inflatables blower, which is designed to send a constant stream of air through an object. We've got a pressurizer box, which is just a very squat bin. We have a HEPA, well, this is actually a HEPA filter complex that I made, in which I took a very fine HEPA filter for air purifiers, a much larger version of the air purifier that I have. This filter cost me about $30 on Amazon, and it was a 99.97%, 0.3 micron or larger particle filter, and I put it with its pre-filter on, and I have a slightly weaker, if you will. The filter only filters about 95 to 99% of particles, with a different pre-filter before it. So the idea is for any airborne contaminants to have to pass through a series of items before the air passes through the really good HEPA filter and through the box out here, which is all kind of glued together, silicone, caulking. So I have this, really nice internal space. So I'm really hoping that this works. I opened several media jars inside of there, so we're going to find out. What's really weird that I've noticed with the other box with the, you can see it just hanging out up there, is that if I simply open a container of medium in there, it's fine. I think it's when I start poking around with the tools, so I may need to do a better job at getting the tools nice and clean before I put them in this system. I did take all my tools and I gave them a nice bleach bath. I do have an alcohol lamp and some ethanol. I am going to replace the ethanol solution, and hopefully that's a solution that solves the problem. So, a couple of tissue culture updates, just in case anybody was curious. I've done some cleaning up. Yippee! My Doris and Byron seedlings that are chugging along on P748 are starting to get their roots. You can see those roots developing quite nicely on that seedling. This other seedling is undergoing a proliferation process, which I'm not going to complain about. I would love to have them proliferate more. But you can see some differentiation occurring there. That's about as good as the quality's going to get. So we got these plants developing quite nicely. This one I've had some contamination issues with. I had this one in a different jar that was on its side, and I had a weird mold spot grow on just one end. So I removed the mold, and then I moved these guys to a new jar, and the same contaminant showed up. It wasn't a different looking mold. It was the same bluish mold with like a grayish outline, which is what's in there. I did treat this with peroxide, so let's hope that this time it does look like the seedlings are still okay in there. I wonder if I can just keep remediating the mold and scooping it out of there. I might try that again later. I have some older P748 that I have some of the seedlings on. And I am also getting more germination from the Petone, or whatever it's called, Tricky Love and SLC Doris and Byron hybrids. You can see several young protocorms in there that are, just starting to differentiate out for me. So things there are looking very, very optimal. So I'm hoping that we get some more development from everybody. It really seemed like this tricky hybrid, Tricky Love, was tricky to germinate. Maybe Tricky Love is a fitting name for the hybrid. These are just the Doris and Byron that I have not transferred out just yet. These protocols are still kind of small. I am going to let them get a little bit bigger. Just a note for everybody. Once you get several protocorms out of a flask because they started to enlarge and differentiate and you want to replate them, don't get rid of the original mother flask or jar, because seed germination will still continue for several months after your initial protocorm emergence. These are all Catalea Alliance things, and not only is the growth rate on the same medium different among individuals, because remember, this is genetic recombination that we're talking about that's going on, and you're inadvertently selecting for those individual seeds that can take to being on this medium. Okay, keep that in mind, 1. 2, there is level of bet hedging where, if the seed germinates the second it lands, well, it risks, any number of things happening that prevent it from developing any further. Sorry, just checking my pineapple. And, if it waits too long, it might miss its opportunity. So you have some seeds that are programmed to germinate pretty soon, and you have some seeds that are programmed to wait a little while. Also, when you start with immature seeds like I had, you will have quite a difference in how quickly everybody germinates. It seems that when you let seeds mature out, or if you use a temperate species of orchid, you get much more consistent, even germination where, everybody that's going to germinate will germinate within a week of one another. Not the case with this system. It's not a bad thing, it's just the nature of reality. I got rid of my glove box because my glove box just kept contaminating everything. Now that I think about it, I probably should have salvaged the gloves from it at least, but whatever. I'm kind of just going to move past the glove box thing. I don't know if I'm going to still use that. If this thing works, I would rather use that. I did put together a document on sort of tissue culture stuff. So that's about all I've got for now with the tissue culture. The cymbidiums are kind of hit or miss. My cymbidium at home, it has aborted, I think, all but one of its seed pods. Now, it had 4 to begin with. That's kind of normal, although it is kind of alarming. I'm just going to see what happens. And then a few of the seed pods in the greenhouse plants have aborted. But what it seems that is the stems that had a single seed pod, or this one stem that had a double seed pod, everything is fine. So I think that, you do a little over-pollination, which you try to avoid just because you don't want to lose everything. But if you do a little over-pollination, the plant will just cull off extra stuff because it is energetically costly for an orchid to produce seeds. So, I don't have... it's unfortunate because it seems that I started out with a large number of tissue culture projects, and now things are kind of just dying down because I don't have any mature, ready to sow seeds from anything right now. I have to wait until the cymbidium seed pods mature and until, the native cypripediums are setting out seeds again, so it'll be several months. But, that gives me, time to devote to moth rearing and scientific research on my actual study systems, as well as, the amphibian stuff. But I still have these guys. So I think, tomorrow I will try to remove the last bit of that mold. Again, I go in with a sterile instrument and I scoop off as much mold as I can, and I squirt some peroxide in there just to kind of kill off the mold. Some of these seedlings are large enough now to hold up to their own. I don't know if the mold is going to be that harmful to them. It looks like there's some funky brown thing growing. I don't know if that's just a staphylococcus or a pseudomonas bacteria that forms small colonies around these seeds. It doesn't seem to be causing too much of a problem. But what I've noticed with the Doris and Byron is I have had some weird brown blotches of material on the medium. I wouldn't worry too much about it, though. Yeah, you can see that protocorm there is kind of, they don't seem to even care that the mold is in there. But I will keep an eye on it so the mold doesn't overtake them.